pay you $50 to bathroom. How about that?
That's true.
No, I know his answer.
What happened?
Yes.
Got some scissors?
An easy fix.
I think it'd make me look better. Yep. You guys ready?
Yep.
Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is Porter County Board of Commissioners meeting, Tuesday, February 1st. It's a little past 10 o'clock. Going to move right into the consent agenda. Melanie?
Approval of payroll, January 7th and January 21st, 2022. Approval of claims, January 10th, 13th, 14th, 20th, 27th, 2022. Approval of minutes, January 11th, 2022. Weights and measures monthly report, December 16th, 2021, and January 15th, 2022 filed.
Okay. We'll move into the autistic services agreements too on the consent agenda as well.
All right, I forgot to check pronunciations before the meeting here, so bear with me. Artistic services agreements for Ishan Patel, Daniel Cummins, Lene Bissett, Dustin Nikolish, Allison Granat, Benjamin Leonard White, David Markley, Abigail Kropner, Eric Johnson, Amanda Kropner, Austin Todd, Steve Moeller, Andrew Robinson, and Nick DeGarles.
Okay, so that's the consent agenda for today's meeting. I'll put it to the floor for action.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're getting into announcements today. We have citizens' appointments for two boards that were carried over from the last meeting. First one is the Chicago Gary International Airport Authority Board appointment. And I'll throw it to the floor for nominations.
I nominate Tom Collins, Jr.
For Gary Chicago Airport Board. We have a motion and a second for Tom Collins Jr., the Gary Chicago International Airport Authority Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And next up, we have the Stormwater Advisory Board. We have two appointments that are open there.
I nominate Bill Laird and Todd Elliott.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now into new business. We're gonna add something here to the agenda. This is for Kurt. This has to do with our website. And Kurt, why don't you come up in front and tell us what we're going to be doing to our website contract here.
And why we needed to add it.
And why we needed to add it now.
Yeah.
Okay. As you know, we've established, take this off, a whole winter road conditions communications process. I look back, I've actually been doing this for almost 8 years now for the county, first as a contractor and now as an employee. But 3 or 4 years ago, we actually put the plan on paper. And what our purpose is to proactively communicate a consistent message during winter weather conditions, to communicate with internal stakeholders, school superintendents, and the public to keep them advised of road conditions and the actions we're taking to address those conditions. So I've given you the whole plan, but basically, this is a wash, rinse, repeat cycle, but when the highway department first starts to deploy vehicles to address a snow or winter event, they text or call me whatever hour of the day or night. At that point in time, then I begin disseminating that information. First, I text the 3 commissioners. We send an email to internal stakeholders, including the sheriff's department, emergency management, the courts, to the directors of our outlying buildings, the expo center, animal shelter, etc. Then we also send the same, with the same information to the school superintendents and their designated people that they're mostly their transportation directors. We then take that information and we post it on Facebook. If it's just a mild, we just kind of storm, we share it on the EMA and 911 Facebook pages. If we get into a big snowstorm, then I pretty much share it across all Porter County pages. Now, we added one thing this year, in that it kind of hit me that, all right, people have to rely on Facebook to get these reports, these updates. So I set up a process on our website where people can get these road conditions updates sent directly to their email box or to their phones. I didn't anticipate the response to it. I set it up in November, and for the few snowstorms we've had, there seems to be a big draw to it. But I believe as of today, we've had 734 subscribers. And in addition, I've seen bumps in 2 other alert categories. The one of travel alerts, which we put in place in the wintertime, and a big bump on the alert program we have for county offices, emergency closings or delayed openings. Emergency closings and delayed openings, we have 1,160 subscribers. That's anticipated because
It's all the schools
and the employees.
Right.
And we did send out at the beginning of the season a reminder to employees that that's available and please sign up for it. On the travel alerts, we have over 1,000 subscribers, and as I said, on the road conditions, we have 734 subscribers. I ran into a little hitch last night. About 7:30 last night, I got a email from our Civics Plus, our website management company, advising me that we only have less than 100 subscriptions less remaining. And if we didn't increase our subscriptions, then once that 100 hit, nobody would be able to sign up for the text messaging system. Normally, I would try to do this in advance, but with the snowstorm we have coming on, I anticipate we're going to get a big rush of people signing up. So I contacted our rep with them last night. She sent me a quote that we could either get a block of 500 new subscriptions at the cost of $945 annually, or a block of 1,000 subscriptions for $1,890 annually. For this first period of now until September, when our contract is our contract anniversary date, that would be prorated, and then in future years it would be the full amount. I'd like to recommend to you that we approve and go with 1,000 subscriptions. That way we don't have to worry about this hopefully for a long time again. And the other thing is Civics Plus has told me that if you approve it here today at today's meeting, they will automatically turn them on today.
Oh, okay.
So that we don't have any kind of delay or drop-in process. So I'm asking that you would consider approving 1,000 new subscriptions at the cost of $1,890 annually, with this first year being prorated concurrent with our contract.
I think it's a good program. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on an amendment to the Civics Plus website agreement for users and subscribers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Kurt.
you.
And
I know you're up
You got a
late
you got a couple of late nights coming up here.
It's as I
Early
told
mornings,
you,
too.
I'm going to be leaving early today because I know that there'll be extended hours over the.
Don't jinx this.
No, that means if he leaves early, maybe it won't snow.
That's, yeah.
That's a good jinx.
This is a plan for the worst and hope for the
I thought
best.
that was the case. I tell them to go home now.
He might go.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Kurt.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Okay, next up, commissioners, here, we have a service agreement between Self-Insured Reporting, LLC, and Porter County Government pertaining to a detailed comparative analysis to be completed regarding all broad plan limits and treatment limitations under all medical plan offerings as required under the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, MHPAEA. Scott, did you want to
Explain that.
I
So
think I know it.
right, the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Act requires that our health insurance go through a review to ensure that it complies with that federal act. This would be the service agreement for Self-Insured Reporting LLC to complete the needed review of our health plan to make sure we are in compliance with that new federal act.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, Porter County Substance Abuse Council, Dawn Pelker, Executive Director. This is her annual comprehensive community plan. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
This is Caitlin Griffin, she's my assistant.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Have a seat.
Have a seat and tell us,
Give us a little background.
give us a little background
Okay.
on the plan and what you got going this year.
Okay, well, we come before you today with the comprehensive community plan, which was submitted to Scott, and that is the companion piece to the actual grant funding that we're going to be doing, and using the countermeasure fees to pay for whatever the agencies request as far as either mental health services or things to do with substance use. So basically, we submitted the names of the agencies as well as what, like a little brief description of what the money's going to be used for. And so from here, if you do approve of this, it'll go to the council and then downstate for final approval, where we'll distribute to the local agencies.
And this is an annual process. We do this every year. You come forward, put your plan, you revise it, we approve it. It's part of the pathway for
That
the
is
funding.
correct. That
Yep.
yearly, we only see you once a year.
Lucky you.
Mm-hmm.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the Porter County Substance Abuse Council's comprehensive community plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
year.
Thank you, you too.
If you need anything, call.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Next up, Development and Stormwater Management, Bob Thompson. Morning, Bob.
Morning.
I know this is about the NICD, the train, and the trail
Yes.
up on the north.
Correct.
So why don't you, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here and why we're taking action or not taking action today on this.
Okay, the county and National Park Service approached NICD about their double track project. One of the things we were looking at is having safe pedestrian crossings at a number of their grade crossings that they have on that. National Park was interested in some that were over in Lake County with their Miller Beach area on that, and we also had a series of them with our trail going through Porter County. So this particular agreement is, and NICD has been really great to work with. Usually railroads are very unresponsive, and NICD has been very responsive. With the double track project coming up and everything like that, on that they are already kind of doing some of the preliminary engineering for this. This agreement is dealing with the Mineral Springs grade crossing and also the Kemmel Road grade crossing. The Mineral Springs grade crossing will connect the Porter Brickyard Trail that's existing that comes off of the bridge there on US 12, and it'll get the pedestrians safely across into the parking lot that we have on the west side of Mineral Springs. From there, we're going to be continuing the trail project. That particular section of the trail is going to be starting up fall this year. And then the other grade crossing, Kemmel Road, they'll be doing that. And we're doing this to time it with the actual double track project that they have going on right now, and which is going to be kicking off. And the reason why we're trying to time it now is if we did it later, the remobilization costs for the contractor and getting flaggers out for the trains and stuff like that just practically doubles the cost for us on that. So it's timely. And by doing it there, they already have to have the flagger out there. So for the double track project, okay, we take advantage of having the flagger there on their cost and stuff. So this is an agreement going for those two particular grade crossings. And National Park in Beverly Shores is also working with NICD at the Broadway crossing there, because the National Park has their campground on the south side of US 12, and they think it's important that they connect it and get across safely there.
That's at a grade crossing. How do they make that safe for pedestrian?
There's actually going to be gates.
Just gates.
Well, there's going to be
And lights and.
Yeah, and there's going to be also, since it's two tracks, there also is going to be a warning system for, look out for the second train. You got one train that's heading, westbound in and everything like that, and not everybody's paying attention to what's coming eastbound, everything, so they're going to have the warning system there. We're asking for it to be separated from the actual road a little bit to actually channelize, I guess, the pedestrians, lack of better words, into that system. But there will be gates, and if you also look at what Michigan City did across the NICD Railroad, there's going to also be some railing there through the right-of-way of NICD.
And there's no gates there now?
There are no gates. Well, Kemmel.
I'm trying to remember.
It's not much.
There are at Kemmel and Mineral Springs, but it's just vehicular. So what we're trying to do is separate the vehicles and the pedestrians and have a separate.
This is necessary.
Yes.
Absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
The one in Michigan City looks good.
It does. Yeah, I've been across that. It is good.
Again, this is a departure from the original trail that started 10 years ago, where it was on the NIPSCO easement. We are now moving off the NIPSCO easement, and we will have something here in the next several months to present to the county of what the actual trail is going to be.
Correct.
Right now, it's caught up with 2-3 different firms that are doing different sections of the trail, so because of grant money that was applied 4 years ago, we still have to use that same consultant for that because he's under contract. What we've done is, why it's created a crossing here, is by able to condense the time frame to put this trail together. It's about a 9-mile trail all the way to Michigan City. By using existing roads that the National Park Service owns. And these are roads that are very, very old. You go up there, you can hardly even tell they're roads, but they're roads. So we're basically using all these roadway systems that's within the National Park Service to help us develop our trail.
And some are vacated, right?
Yep.
A number of them are vacated.
Yep.
And where that really helps us is with the environmental review.
And what by doing that is if we were to go through the park for 9 miles, we would open ourselves up to all kinds of environmental inquiries. It not only adds almost $1 million to the cost of the project, it also takes 3 to 4 years longer to work through all the disciplines. So when we approached the National Park Service and using the existing roads and other things, they obviously were very excited about that. So we sort of threw out the old plan and we're starting on a new plan now. We up here are working very hard to get everybody a map to show everybody where it's all going, and we will have that shortly. We're just coordinating all the pieces right now. This at-grade crossing, NICD is moving forward on the double tracking. It has started. So the reason to get this railroad crossing in now is to get it into the engineering, get it into the project now. And I think, as you can see, we're going to save some money here by doing this. And out of all the roads and everything that we're working through, we tried initially started off without having any more crossings. But we came to the conclusion that Kimmel Beach is a very important area. There's opportunities there to expand some parking in the future that we've talked about with the National Park Service. So we just felt that Kimmel Beach, if we were going to have a crossing, Kimmel Road is where we wanted to have that crossing. And that was with a lot of conversations with the National Park Service, with the consultants, with us, storm drainage issues, all those type of things. So I know for one, I'm very excited to present this trail when we get it all out to where everybody can see it. I think it's a much needed quality of life issue on the north side of this county, and it enhances the $1 billion that the state and the federal government is putting into the train, to the national park designation. So there's a lot of really cool things going on up there right now, and I think this will add to the synergy of all that. And I know, Jim, you were on NICD board, I'm on it now, but we saw the bikes on trains, people wanting to come out here and bike. The numbers, double-digit increase for the last 7 years. So there is a need for people to want to get out and enjoy the National Park Service, and I think as a county, we're following up on that, and we're gonna try to deliver our constituents a really cool trail within a national park. So that's fun stuff.
And the Cal Trail was very popular until it started to fall into disrepair. And the county, spent, it was originally constructed back in the 90s, late 90s. That a lot of money went into that, a lot of people's time went into that, and instead of just walking away from it and turning back to it and fixing it and improving it. And this particular project here, I mean, it's really a public safety measure.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
So absolutely, it's a motion to approve.
I'll second, and piggyback on what you said with the other counties around us having theirs done. This will be the missing link, and it'll be good stuff.
Anything to get people outside, breathing fresh air.
Yep.
It's all good.
It is good.
And I'd also like to point out too, that the county has also submitted an application to the state Next Level Trails Grant for $5 million for a matching grant to make sure that the state steps up and contributes to this next level grant for us. And I think we have I don't know how it all works down there, but I think our project shines within the state right now, so I'm expecting good things for that money to come through to the county. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Let me know when we get that full
Yes.
full map. We need it, and we'll bring it here. Thank you. Next up, Valpo events. Katie Abel. I don't think Katie's here. These are 3 things from Valpo events that we're going to vote on now. These are all out in the future. A request to use the courthouse grounds on Saturday, September 10th, 22 for Popcorn Festival. They'll have a tent, popcorn tent with industrial popping machines, medic tent, water stations. They'll begin tent setup on Wednesday, September 7th, and we'll remove all items by the 11th. We also request to use the judge's parking lot after close of business on Friday, September 9th for EMS medic setup needs along the access roof at 157 to use antennas. We can do all these at once, can't we? We have another request by Valpo Events to use the courthouse grounds on October 14th from 2 to 6:30. This is downtown trick or treat, and they will be displaying a few yard signs. That's from 4 to 6. And then we have a request to use the courthouse grounds on December 2nd, 5:30 to 7:30, Saturday, December 3rd, from 3 to 6 for holidays. That's an annual event that happens there every year. The majority of the activities will take place in the northwest corner, northeast corner, and the west triangle. So we'll throw that to the floor for action.
Motion to approve the 3 requests from Valpo Events.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're at the end of the meeting here.
Can I talk a little bit about
Sure.
ARPA stuff?
Yep.
Okay. So, I know I've emailed both of you about some ideas I had for figuring out how to distribute the ARPA money. So I just wanted to expound on that a little bit and get your feedback. So we were thinking about a group of committees, 3 subcommittees overseen by a central steering committee. And I just kind of wanted to talk about what I foresee as the makeup of those and see what you guys think. We'd have a steering committee chaired by a non-voting facilitator, and then that committee would be 1 county commissioner and 2 county council members. And then we would have some advisors on that committee too. Our auditor would be dealing with compliance, and a member of the health department and our county attorney. Then I was thinking 3 subcommittees, which would be mental and social health would be one of them, nonprofits and employers would be another, and a third would be public infrastructure. So I'm thinking for the process, well, first of all, the subcommittee makeup for each of these would be 1 commissioner, 2 members of the council, and 2 citizen appointments. 1 appointed by the commissioners and 1 appointed by the council. And then each subcommittee, depending on its type, would have advisors. I think for mental and social health, 2 great advisors would be the trustees from our most populous townships. For public infrastructure, I'd like to see Mike Novotny, our engineer. And I'm open to advisors to these things. Those are just the ideas I had so far. For the public process, the meetings of all these committees should be open. Each committee should have at least 1 evening or weekend meeting scheduled to receive public input. All the meetings will be recorded. I'd like Kurt to make sure all meeting proceedings get out in the public as much as possible. Online public input, we still have it. We're going to change how we do it a little bit to make it easier for these committees to get the input directed to them specifically. And for the citizen volunteers, stepping back a little bit, I think people who want funding for their specific project, they probably aren't the best people to be sitting on the committee. So somebody with more of a general interest, so we don't have people just gunning for their own project. But we obviously would take input from everyone and welcome it. So one thing the steering committee needs to define, priority considerations. And I think that'll come down the pike when the committees meet. But some things I was thinking of are consideration should be given to proposals that are one-time. Proposals that can leverage matching funds. The number of people that their proposal will serve and whether or not it fits the population that we need to target. They need to be located in Porter County. And again, all of these are just ideas I was coming up with. These things are in no means set in stone. Effective and impactful use of the ARPA money. And this one's really important, and I think Vicki will touch on this in a bit. They have to be capable of proper accounting of the funds, and they have to be able to complete a spend by the deadline, which is December 31st of 2024. These are pretty important parts, because if they can't handle this, if we don't document it properly, we have to pay it back. And if the project's not completed and the money's spent by the deadline, it goes away. Right, Vicki?
Yes.
And Vicki, I'll let you lead into it, is going to do kind of a class. Is that the right way to? I'll let you talk about it.
We're ready now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, go
A week from today in this room, I'll be leading a presentation on the Fiscal Recovery Fund. We're going to be addressing the eligible uses under the final rule, as well as compliance, auditing, and tracking measures, because that's where my office really kicks in to high gear in terms of documenting every penny of how this money is being spent, reporting to U.S. Treasury, and ensuring compliance when we come under audit, because we will be coming under audit. So that's going to be a week from today. It's going to be at 11 a.m. as well as at 5 p.m. So if you don't like to drive in the evenings, you can come in the daytime. And I have a press release for the media members here.
But I'd like to take that one step further, is that if you have intentions, if your organization has intentions to apply for any amount of this money, that you must attend that class. Because the complexity of this is going to get, when you're down in the weeds, is who we're giving it to and how they're spending it. And we just cannot arbitrarily hand, as well-meaning as we may think that they are, there has to be some accountability there, and that is going to be judged by the federal government. So, in my opinion, if you want to be considered, you want to make application, then it is absolutely required that you attend that course, because we don't want to get into a situation where we're reviewing applications and there's not a distinct understanding by the applicant that they must fulfill certain obligations here.
Okay, and then one thing I skipped is to get citizen appointments, we will start taking applications, and Kurt is going to get that set up for us on the website, if you guys approve.
Between the snowstorms.
Yeah, well, he's up between the hours of 4 and 6 with nothing to do. So yeah, that's the basic concept I had.
Well, my question is this: are we peeling back all of the projects that were initially put forward into the ordinance?
That's not on the agenda today to talk about, so it's not an agenda item. We have an approved phase 1 plan right now, so I guess we'll have to address that down the road. I think today we were just trying to get the process moving, because there's a lot of work here that needs to be done, a lot of work.
Well, I mean, right, I agree, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, but there's already been a statement by one of our board members that they're peeling off $5.5 million of the original requested amount, which makes up that ordinance, which makes that, in my opinion, for what we can ask the attorney, if that is to happen, that changes that ordinance completely. That ordinance has to be rewritten. because the amount was specifically identified in that ordinance. We can't just amend it, I wouldn't think.
We can amend the ordinance as it is. They're in as individual projects, and none of them have been allocated yet at the council level, so
Well,
the ARP ordinance moving forward can be taken in whole or in pieces. So at this point in time, we have an ordinance that's passed but not allocated for through the council, and that's where we currently stand.
but I would hope that we are peeling back, we're backing up all those projects and sending them through this
This is starting to
this
sound a little
process.
political here, Jim, isn't it?
This process.
Wow.
I don't know.
Well, I think it is.
What do you mean, political?
I don't know. What do you coming from you? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, explain yourself. You're gonna make a
No,
statement
I
like
think
that, then
it's not on the
explain
agenda.
yourself.
What we're trying to do is put a process together, is what we're trying to do here today. That's what we're trying to do, Jim.
This wasn't on the agenda either.
Well, it came up from the floor. She brought it up. I mean, is
Well,
that,
and I'm bringing this up.
well, how do we, okay, so do we want to slow down here and not do this? Is that what we want to do now
Well,
on the process? Is
Look,
that?
I'm just trying to inflict some common sense here. And that is if we are stating that we are now going to process these monies in this way, aren't we at the same time admitting what we initially did was flawed? No?
I mean, some of these things, they're ready to go. I mean, time is of the essence. I mean, we just talked about you have to spend the money
I
by.
agree, Laura, but, and I think you've said it in an open meeting, these are some of these projects we've talked about for years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we talked about it for years, how can they be pandemic related?
All of the
They
things that we
fit
put through,
into-
I don't care what anybody says, what we put through on phase one all fit the guidelines of the ARP money. Now, you can sit there and throw whatever you want against the wall. I'll guarantee nobody in this room has gone through that report like our auditor has and made sure that they do qualify. So I'm not even gonna get into that's just,
Jeff, whether
That's
they
gutter ball,
qualify or
man.
not has never been
They were-
my issue. My issue has been,
Oh,
there
God.
is the process in which those projects
putting
were
a
developed and
process
put
together
forward
now.
and passed into an ordinance.
we're putting a process together now. That's what we're trying to do.
And I
And I think
applaud
the
that,
other things
but
on the
those rest
first
of those
phase
projects
will
need to be backed up
They
and
will
put
be
into
dealt
that-
with.
that
We're
process.
just trying to get a process going, Jim. That's all we're trying to do.
And I agree with that.
Well, thank
But the rest
God.
of those projects need to be backed up and washed through
We're
that
not gonna
project-
talk about that
process.
today. Right now, we have something that's been approved and we'll address it
I
at the
don't
right
understand why
time.
we're not talking about it.
It would be on the agenda if we are.
This isn't on the agenda, Jeff.
It's talking about a process. There's no action item. This is not an action item. This is not an action item, Jim. There's two differences. One's an action item,
I'm
one is
not
not.
asking for action, I'm asking for
We also talked
consideration.
about Kurt
I'm
Civic
asking
Plus
for-
up here today too, and that
I'm
wasn't
asking
on the
for your
agenda.
opinion.
Well,
Are they or are they not gonna be washed through?
I would prefer to keep them as they are, and I've been reading various things, and a lot of communities are doing that way. And some of the suggestions are, pick those projects that have been on the books.
Well, Laura, all I can say about that, is listening to what the public has stated about this, listening to what some of the nonprofits have stated about this. More than anything, the criticism was the lack of process.
Well, I think we've
It
got a
wasn't-
pretty great compromise going on here. We took out the biggest one. I mean, some of this stuff it's pay for our first responders, premium pay.
Yeah, and that
there's
should
a
have been,
number
actually,
of-
I felt that should have been taken out automatically and paid.
We can't.
That pay should not be held up in this process.
But that's part of the plan.
Well, you just made, whatever. I'm not even gonna try.
I'm just, it makes no sense that you don't wash all projects through this process.
To you.
No sense. And for what it's worth, I'm telling you, you're making a mistake if you move forward with it. You do with that with what you will.
Anybody wishing to address this board? And with that, the board stands in recess.
So you got one.
Oh, Walt Breitinger, come on up.
I'll be very brief, and I'd like to start out by not just thanking the commissioners and the attorney, but especially Vicki, and I have not had the opportunity to talk to Vicki. I know she's done an enormous amount of work, and her seminar and class will be critical, and I think it's wonderful that you're offering that. One of the things that I focused on was what Lieutenant Governor Susan Crouch published called the Final Rule, which I took place as a very simple summary, probably far too simple to condense everything that Vicki has done. But I wanted to mention, as I looked through that, it's interesting that the Final Rule has 3 sections, somewhat analogous to what Commissioner Blaney has proposed. In fact, I'm thinking that maybe to some extent she was guided by that, and the 3 points in the Final Rule were somewhat designed to match her 3 categories. The first one, respond to public health and public health impacts. That's from the Final Rule, and that kind of matches what she was saying. Number 2, premium pay for essential workers. And there was just some conversation about that. And I think everybody has agreed that that's important, and the group plans to move forward with that. The third one is to invest in water, sewers, access to clean drinking water, support vital wastewater and stormwater infrastructure. And I think that, too, somewhat falls into line with what Commissioner Blaney was talking about. She used a slightly different term, but those categories fall under that. And I'm not here to complain about anything, but just to emphasize what I think the community has not given quite enough attention to, and it's that portion of clean water, drinkable water. If you go to our ponds, our lakes, our rivers, our streams, we can barely go fishing in some of them, let alone swimming, and we certainly can't drink from a single one of them. And I think that is what the goal should be for this community, among other things, to try to clean up our water for public health and in order to comply with the Final Rule. I'm a little bit concerned that there was language that people that would benefit or be requesting money could not serve on these steering committees. There are at least 10, I just jotted down 10 environmental groups in this community, or you might call them conservation groups, or some are educational, or people like working on things like Science Olympiad. But if we were to omit or prohibit those people from participating in the steering committee, we have in effect just eliminated the people that are working on the nonprofits and struggling so hard to protect our environment. People that are not paid, they're dedicating their time, their money, and their energy. People that are on the board of Shirley Hines Land Trust, Save the Dunes, Isaac Walton League, Sierra Club, and then some of the governmental, Valparaiso Lake Area Conservancy District, the Recycling and Solid Waste Board. There are people that could potentially be very interested in working on a steering committee, but then would be afraid to come forward or would be omitted or dismissed. And then it can work the other way around too, that maybe their input could be beneficial, so that I see that there's a clash there to not allow some of them to be directly serving on the board. So I just thought I'd point that out as not necessarily a criticism, just something for you all to think about. Thank you.
Thanks, Walt. And now this meeting stands in recess.